Hello everyone, it's SpursRail96 here, and welcome to another Trained Sim World 4 news video. Today I thought I'd take a little peek at the route as well as its official loco add-on that I've been looking forward to seeing in Trained Sim World 4 the most. Without it, I'll be quite honest with you, I wouldn't be picking up the game, at least not immediately. To me, Trained Sim World 4 this time feels underwhelming. There's not enough on the table to really light a fire in me and get me excited about it. Really deep down, it should be Train Sim World 3 2.0, but obviously Dovetail's boardroom and executives had other ideas. The section of the world famous East Coast Main Line, which is the longest end-to-end UK route in the country, the section we're getting is an 80-mile section between the cities of Peterborough and Doncaster, and from what Dovetail say, this route plans to bring a variety of services as well as high-speed running, freight, rail tour services, etc. Now, along the way on this route, the historic Stoke Bank marks the location where the world speed record for a steam locomotive was broken in July 1938 of 126 miles per hour by the famous Mallard locomotive. And we probably should have had that actually in the launch of Train Sim World 4. Never mind. Eagle-eyed rail fans may see the commemorative sign flash by both in-game and in real life. As if one record wasn't enough, it was also through this part of Lancashire that the world-famous Flying Scotsman broke the 100-mile-per-hour barrier on the 30th of November 1934. We will touch on the Flying Scotsman later in the video. Now, Doncaster was where the Flying Scotsman was built 100 years ago, along with other iconic locomotives such as the streamlined Gresley Pacifics and diesel-electric Class 56s. As well as an extensive railway history, the city today hosts Deutsche Bahn Cargo United Kingdom's headquarters. Peterborough, meanwhile's place on the East Coast Main Line came as a result of circumstance when Lord Exeter refused to allow the line to be built through nearby Stamford. The city, of course, grew as a result, industrializing much in the way other locations did once the railway had arrived on its doorstep. There are 3 intermediate stations which are spread between the route's endpoints, Peterborough, Doncaster, facilitating high speed across most of the route. These stations are Grantham, which is the home of England's oldest biscuit recipe, Grantham gingerbread, first made by accident in 1740. Newark Northgate, serving Newark-on-Trent in Nottinghamshire. Nearby is Newark Flat Crossing, the sole remaining standard gauge flat crossing on the British Railway network. Where the East Coast Main Line crosses the Sheffield to Lincoln line. Retford is one of England's oldest market towns, and the Ornate Station building is Grade 2 listed. History aside, this part of the East Coast Main Line offers up a true racetrack section where the main star of the show, so to speak, we'll touch on that shortly, can really stretch its legs. With 4 parallel lines, a variety of in-game services can interact with one another, particularly for players with plentiful UK content. But there is a caveat with this route's timetable. We will touch on that later as well. Also, I'll put some time codes in the link in the description so you can get to specific sections that you want to know about this route. Let's touch on the units, the locomotives, the rolling stock, what's coming with this route. We'll start off with the star of the show, of course, the London and North Eastern Railway Class 801 Azuma. Now, the LNER is one of 4 new operators to arrive to Train Sim World 4, along with the USA's Metrolink. OBB from Austria. Bizarrely, it says Railpool from Germany, but we already have Railpool in the game, so I don't know where that came from. Maybe they, redid the contract with it or something, or licensing fee, I don't know. Its addition brings the historic Big Four, albeit some in their contemporary guises, to the game, with Southern, Great Western Railway and London Midland Scottish Railway, featuring in previous Train Sim World releases. Now, the BR Class 801 Azuma was introduced in 2019, replacing previous intercity trains on the East Coast Main Line, which I would have also liked to have seen in Train Sim World. Unlike the bi-mode Class 800 variant used by both LNER and other operators, which can interchangeably use electric and diesel power, the Class 801 uses overhead line equipment for power when in service, and is considered an electric multiple unit. A small diesel engine, which Dovetail has incorporated in the game, let's hope it works, exists only for emergency use and depot moves. Both the 801/1 and 801/2 variants of the Azuma are included in the game, the former being a 5-car train and the latter being 9 cars long. Both operate along this stretch of the East Coast Main Line, upwards of 125 miles per hour, providing a thrilling high-speed run through Lincolnshire and Nottinghamshire. For freight, you get the EWS BR Class 66. Yes, the 5th time. I think we've now got 5 BR Class 66s. I mean, I like the 66, but this is getting beyond the joke now. It's in the weathered EWS variant, as seen on the Railhead Treatment Train Loco add-on from last year, but without the in-cab Railhead Treatment Train control equipment. With both slow and fast lines existing along this part of the East Coast Main Line, freight services are often seen giving way to faster passenger traffic in passing loops, and this is replicated in the route's timetable, with a number of playable freight operations. As with most parts of the British Railway network, the BR Class 66 is a common sight, hauling a variety of freight. In Train Sim World 4, the services feature the FKA container flat wagons, seen previously in Great Western Express, hosting a colourful array of containers. The EWS BR Class 66 and FKA container wagons come included with the East Coast Main Line without the need to own any previous Train Sim World route. Let's now touch on the Flying Scotsman. Wow, so pleased to see this in Train Sim World 4. If you get the Train Sim World 4 Deluxe Edition, players can experience the thrill of operating the world's most famous locomotive, Flying Scotsman, during its landmark centenary year. Represented in preservation condition, this National Railway Museum locomotive runs rail tour passenger services along the length of the route, with Doncaster being the place at which it was first built back in 1923. In the game, the cab and exterior are apparently faithfully recreated, with the relevant safety systems, markings, signage and gauges needed for extensive mainline running. The Mark I support coach required for crew and accessed through the corridor tender is also featured, along with a rake of Mark II coaches, typical of those pulled during the countless rail tours it will undertake. The story of the Flying Scotsman is both dramatic and extensive, with tours taking place in both the United States of America and Australia, as well as most of the United Kingdom's rail network, including plenty of routes available as add-ons in Train Sim World. Though some of the new and improved scenario planner features are specific to Train Sim World 4 routes, others like custom start times, weather selections and introductory text can help take the Flying Scotsman elsewhere in the United Kingdom along other routes in your collection, such as Great Western Express, the Birmingham Cross City Line and the West Somerset Railway. Now, let's touch on the services. It's a mixed bag. I'll say that. Let's focus on the passenger with the Class 801 Azuma. Now, the timetable for the East Coast Main Line follows the current real-life working timetable, and so included is the following passenger duties. You get hourly London to Edinburgh services in each direction, calling at Newark Northgate, and hourly London to Leeds services in each direction non-stop between Peterborough and Doncaster. You get hourly London to Leeds service in each direction non-stop between Grantham and Doncaster, 2 hourly London to Newark Northgate services in each direction, calling at Grantham and terminating short at Newark instead of going to Lincoln. 2 hourly London to York services, service in each direction, calling at all stations between Peterborough and Doncaster. 2 hourly London to Harrogate service in each direction, non-stop, between Grantham and Doncaster. 4 daily London to Bedford services between Grantham and Doncaster, calling at Retford. 2 hourly London to Hull services in each direction between Grantham and Doncaster, calling at Retford, covering for Hull trains services, which isn't in the game. Handful of empty stock moves out of Doncaster's Hitachi depot. Additionally, the services between London and Scotland, which run non-stop, as well as Lumo and Grand Central paths, are included as AI only, so they can be seen throughout the route passing through Peterborough and Doncaster, non-stop. All the above uses 5, 9 and 10 car formations as appropriate. For the freight side of things, the BR Class 66 has head code 4XXX, which is container freight services, generally running full-length services between Peterborough and Doncaster, including from yards such as Down Decoy. As with most freight, the origin and destination reach far beyond the represented route, but the name of the services included realistic origins and destinations, such as Tees Dock or Felixstowe. Most services are split into parts, where longer waits in passing loops are necessary and runs outside of the busier passenger times. A fair number of services can also be seen as AI only, where freight takes alternative routes between Peterborough and Doncaster, as the main line is too busy at times to support additional traffic. More freight services, such as the head code 6XXX, are available as AI and playable, using the JNA and MFA wagons from Southeastern High Speeds, and the BBA wagons from the Tees Valley Line. That's a nice touch. For the Flying Scotsman, using the seasonal service feature for Train Sim World, the Flying Scotsman features multiple rail tours time throughout the year. Again, the start and end points reflect the full real-life services. In-game services run only between Peterborough and Doncaster. So you get basically 16 services. There is also light engine and support coach movement for one of the tours. These are designed to offer the most amount of variety while representing the uniqueness of the locomotive. Deviating from these when selecting the services as a player could result in seeing more than one Scotsman at once. There also will be tutorials, scenarios, collectibles as well, that's scattered about the routes, such as route maps and first aid defibrillators, if you care about that sort of thing. What I haven't touched on the timetable is the additional service layers. Well, for people that have pre-ordered the game, especially that's due the version that's due to release on the 22nd of September, where you're in for a bit of a nasty surprise, I'm afraid. Now, additional service layers from previous Train Sim World routes and locomotives will be available for players that own them once the compatible content unlocks on September the 26th. So for 4 or 5 days, you will not get to download your previous Train Sim World content, which is a bit of a pain. Now, the Timetable itself is having a few problems. Oh dear. Mainly because it goes back to a similar conversation I had on one of my streams, where the dev team is being pushed so hard to meet these strict deadlines set by the executives or the boardroom at Dovetail Games, or Respawn Entertainment, that now owns Dovetail Games. The routes that get released straight out of the box are in a bit of a state and are not complete, especially from the East Coast Mainline's perspective, because there are some service layers that, well, let's put it bluntly, they're not ready. They have not been optimized for not just the old Gen 8 consoles, the Xbox One or PlayStation 4, but also for the PC and the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S and X. Apparently, this will ensure players get the best experience. What you will be able to see and operate, both playable and AI services, are from the Midland Main Line, the Thameslink Class 700, and the Railhead Treatment Train. You will see those at launch on September the 26th. But I think there is some more optional service layers like HST or a Class 47, I think, from West Somerset Railway. You ain't gonna get them on release day or 5 days before with the digital deluxe edition, which is incredibly confusing. We're 1 week away from release, and actually thinking about it now, this is probably why Dovetail have left the East Coast Mainline reveal so late before release, because they've probably the gameplay side of things is nowhere near finished, and that is very, very concerning. And it's making me question now, should I or should I not pre-order Train Sim World 4? Maybe I should wait until all the services have been patched into the East Coast Main Line, or certainly bugs. There's undoubtedly going to be bugs with the route, the multiple units, the locomotives, or maybe even the timetable workings as well, and scenarios. There's bound to be a few bugs. I just think it's a little bit unprofessional from Dovetail that they themselves are not sure. People have paid, pre-ordered the game, weeks in advance, and people that can't maybe afford to pre-order the game the month leading up to September the 22nd or 26th, they're paying in excess of 50 to 60, maybe even £100, and for me it's inexcusable. The fact that Dovetail say that they will confirm further details and the full list of additional services will be published as soon as we can, for me that's not good enough, especially for the amount of money people are paying for them. And I do feel sorry for people that have now pre-ordered the game, maybe specifically to experience the East Coast Main Line, and the fact that they cannot experience the route's timetable in a completely authentic way, or in the way that people would have expected, especially with the amount of UK content that people may already own, to bring the route more to life, make it more busier. So yeah, a bit of a sad end really to the route. Other than that, it's difficult to judge on what the route looks like. I'll probably do a first look video. I've never done one before on the East Coast Main Line, so make sure to stick around for that. I'll probably do a live stream on it as well, and the Flying Scotsman, regardless if I pre-order it or wait a month for the Flying Scotsman to release separately. Excuse me. But yeah, there we are. That concludes this video. If you did enjoy it, then make sure to hit the thumbs up button below. And if you are watching for the first time, I'd really appreciate it if you would consider subscribing to the channel. And as always, I will see you next time. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.